Sis, have you ever looked at a man and just thought, if he could just communicate better, if he could just be more consistent, if he could just heal from his doggone past? A lot of times we as women, we fall in love with the vision, not in love with the version that's right in front of us. And before we know it, we're investing our time, our energy, and our hearts into someone's possibility versus his reality. But sis, potential is just fantasy. That's why today I'm diving into a topic that I call addiction to potential, that quiet emotional loop where you fall in love with a man's future self while neglecting the truth of his present behavior. We'll unpack why this pattern is so hard to break for high achieving Black women who are used to seeing potential and turning that potential into results. But we're not doing that today. Listen, if you are listening to me for the very first time, or finding my channel, or listening to this radio show for the very first time, I'm Marshaun Olaniyan. Welcome to this topic today. For the next 30 minutes, we are going to be jumping into the addiction to the potential and why so many of us as Black professional women do just that. Listen, we want to get past this thing, right? But we have been known to see and visualize the man for what he can offer, what he could bring to the table if he just tapped into all of the things that's up here. All of that is fantasy if he doesn't have a plan and if he's not working in that plan. You are listening to and or watching KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. Thank you so much for being here for the next 30 minutes. If you are a note taker, this is the time to get your pen and paper and take some notes. And remember, you're not just here to take notes. You're here to take notes on things that you can apply into your life. With that being said, let's jump into the very first thing, the high achievers trap. Now, what do I mean by that? This is what we're talking about. Seeing potential in every man that has come your way, only to be disappointed after a while. One of the reasons why is because we and you and I are wired to identify growth areas and fix what's broken. It's your superpower at work. It is those masculine skills and traits and characteristics that you are used to tapping into that has gotten you from where you were before to where you are now in your career. But when we bring those same masculine traits into our romantic relationships, this is where the attraction and connection is at a standstill, because the traits and characteristics that you have to have on your job, in your career as a high-powered woman, you cannot bring those same traits over into your romantic relationship, because now you have two masculine people in a relationship. And in every relationship, there has to be someone with the masculine characteristics and someone with the feminine characteristics. Now, ideally, in our lives, we have been grown up and even nurtured in this way that women have the feminine characteristics and men have the masculine characteristics. Well, the truth of the matter is both of us have each. It's just a matter of when you are understanding when you can use these things in your romantic relationship as the woman, as the feminine, beautiful beauty that you are. We have to learn to relax those skills. And so if you are finding me for the very first time, that is who I help and serve. I serve and help beautiful Black women in high power positions that need to really learn how to relax their boss mode without feeling like they have to give up their power in their romantic relationships. There is a way to relax your boss mode and have a beautiful, healthy romantic relationship, being able to let down your guard and release some of that control when you get home. A lot of women don't know how to make the transition. That is what I teach them to do, make the transition. With that being said, let me get back into this, because we fall for their potential, right? And we don't want to fall for any man's potential or any person's potential in our lives. Like I said, it is a fantasy if he is not doing anything with said plans. Psychology Today has reported that 72% of professional women admit they've dated partners for who they could become rather than who they currently are. I've been guilty of that. We're not doing that no more. We're not doing that no more. Because here's the thing with men. Can I let you in on a little secret? Let me come closer to Auntie and Coach Marshaun. For men, and the men, if you are watching this, because I know that about 30% of men watch my channel as well. So please comment below and let us know. But men, ladies, listen up. Men often see and attach who they are to what they do, how much money they are bringing in, their job title, but it's really about them, the income and money that they're bringing in. And so if he has not tapped into the skill set that is bringing him in the bread, the money, you're going to have a hard time with getting him to commit to the relationship and love you the way that you can, because he's already feeling as if he's lacking behind because his money ain't right. So I'm not saying that it's right. However, you may have heard this from a man that doesn't have his money right. And maybe something to the fact of, I want to wait until I get my money right before we go any further. I want to wait until I get my money right until we get married. I want to wait until I get my money right until we have a child or children. So that's a valid reason, because he has really, it's really ingrained in men to attach themselves and their identity to their money, their career. Women, we are built different. We are willing to give up our career and our money for the right man and us to build the dream that we want. And a lot of women, not all, but a lot of women want the marriage, the kids, the family lifestyle. And so I've actually done just a little bit of research, and this goes into why married couples, the woman usually makes less in the dynamic of the married couple, because a lot of times we're giving up our careers, we're giving up our money maker to make the family atmosphere work. I digress, but that's just something to think about. A lot of times we do, it doesn't happen or even work for everybody. You have to really figure out what works for your family and your lifestyle so the both of you can be happy in that relationship. I digress. We get caught up in this high achievers trap where we see the potential. We're not just going off of the potential anymore. Another thing is that the emotional labor of being his motivator. Now, what do I mean by that? When you become his coach instead of his companion, emotional intimacy starts to become one-sided. Another thing is when you have to always encourage somebody time and time again, that encouragement turns into exhaustion, especially when it's not reciprocated. So like, you may be trying to be his ride or die and sending him job links that he never has opened, that he has never applied for. You might be helping him write his resume. He don't really give a diggity doggone about it, but you care more about his success than he cares about his success. Why you might hear statements like, I mean, I was thinking about it. Oh yeah, I haven't got around to it yet. You can't be his motivator. He has to be his own motivator. Again, you're not going to be able to push this relationship to the next level. That is you seeing the potential in him. Like, dang, if he could just, man, we could be something. We could be that power couple. We could be that it couple that other people are looking up to. If he could only do A, B, and C. If he can only get that job that's paying more. If he can only apply for this job. Listen, I got the pull. I know the people at the different company, and he still won't apply. You can't be his motivator, baby. That's not your role. That's not your role. You could be his cheerleader as he's going through, but you cannot motivate him into doing something that his heart is not allowing him to do. You can't want him to succeed more than he wants to succeed. You can't get out there and do everything for him, i.e., filling out his resume or clean up his resume. This makes me actually think of a story, and plenty of stories like this, where I was working with the client and she came to me because she was complaining that she finds herself getting with men or attracting men where she feels like she is getting him ready for the next woman. It is for things like this. You're sending him the job links. You're trying to get him the job. You have the pull to get him the job. So now you're doing just that. You're filling out his resume. And when he feels like that he is ready to get on his feet, because maybe he dragged his feet and he finally did fill out the resume and he got the job like that. He finally filled out the application and he got the job like that. Awesome, right? And you thinking, oh, dang, we about to do something. We about to be that it couple. I can see this. You got the whole vision. It's all up here. And then guess what happens? All of a sudden he's out the door. And then to put salt in an open wound, he is married within the next year to 2. When you like, what the heck? He ain't do none of this for me. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. He didn't want to do it with you and for you. He needed you in your softer role. He needed you to allow him to do it by himself. You were in his way of his growth. Can I say that again without there being, some feelings in the way? You were in the way of him growing because you were trying to motivate him. You were trying to push him into doing something that he was not ready to do, or being very stubborn about doing because you were pushing him to do it versus him pushing himself, motivating himself to do the very thing that you wanted him to do. So if he doesn't have his money together, sis, don't fall in love with his potential. That's one thing I want you to think about. The other thing, do not be his motivator, because as soon as you do all these things for him, in your mind, you're trying to make something for the family. In his mind, he like, okay, this is cool. But he was never really yours. He was teeter-tottering. He was allowing you to be the placeholder. Let's be real. Until he found something that he really wanted to connect with in that way. And I'm saying something, but I'm talking about another woman that he wanted to connect with in that way, that he really wanted to stand in and protect her and be her peace and show up for her financially and provide the stability that you were looking for the entire time. We have to stop falling for the potential and really see the man for who he is. So you and I, can stop getting hurt in the long run. Another fact here. According to the University of Michigan in 2021, 68% of women say they've taken on a mentor role in past relationships. Hear the word past. Those relationships very rarely work out when you are their mentor. Now, let me back up. Especially if you're in the beginning of the relationship. I'm not talking about you have been in a long-term relationship and now you guys have gone through ups and downs, because that is going to happen in every relationship. There will be some ups and downs. It may not be his finances, but something is going to come. That's life, right? What I am talking about is you're just meeting this person. You guys have been out on several, a few dates, whatever. You're learning about this person and you're like, wow, I can see some things. Now a few weeks have turned into a few months. You've noticed some things like his job is not stable, his money funny, blah, blah, blah. There's a list, right? And you're like, okay, so I know, because now you invested emotionally. You may have been giving your body to one another. And so now that you have some soul ties there and you can see this future. Again, we have this vision for our life and for our life with this person. And a lot of times we are setting ourselves up for failure by doing and being all of that to him. Okay, so the next thing is the power of projection, where potential is often projection. Like you are projecting your potential on him. You're seeing what you would do if you had his resources, if you had his time, if you had his heart, right? Loving potential keeps you emotionally tied to a dream, not to a man. Okay, let me say it for the people in the back. Loving potential keeps you emotionally tied to a dream, not to a man. You might be thinking, listen, he just needs the right woman to bring all of this stuff up out of him. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? People in potential-based relationships overestimate their partner's commitment by 40%. 40%. And part of that was what I was just talking about, how you are helping him get ready for the next relationship because you are putting yourself in there and becoming his motivator, and you doing all of these things for him because you can see the potential in him. You're overestimating how invested he is into the relationship by 40%. Or yeah, I said it a different way earlier, which is the commitment, but still 40%. Which leads me to confusing consistency with progress, where he's doing a few things right, but doing those few things does not equal transformation. Or you can't mistake glimpses of effort for evidence of growth. So like, let's talk about something different where he may call you for a week and you think, oh, shoot, he's changing. But then those old patterns slip right back in. Don't confuse consistency with progress. He does need to be consistent, but it's not just with you, it's also with himself. How consistent is he with doing the things that he said he's going to do? So let's say, for instance, you two had a talk and you two were sitting down and you were discussing his future and the future of y'all together, but specifically his future to help him move forward. So then the both of you can move forward together, right? And he's talking about all of the things that he wants to do. He even comes up with the plan. Not only does he verbalize the plan, he actually puts pen to paper. And then he drops the ball. How does he drop the ball? He drops the ball by doing nothing with the plan that the two of you sat down for hours, maybe even days, going over and rehashing and making it better, only for him to do nothing with it. Nothing with it. So just because he's consistent for a little while, if those old patterns start to emerge and you have a discussion with them and say, hey, I noticed that you slipping A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. Do you need some help with, whatever? And then he's like, nah, I got it. You have to let him got it. Because then there also comes a place where now you're acting like mama versus companion versus wife versus I want to cleave to you. Now I'm running away from you because I know when I see you, what you gonna ask me about. It's no longer about the relationship per se. It's about what I am doing or what I should be doing, what I could be doing, how much potential that I have. Like he knows. It's not something that you have to say. So just because he's consistent, you want him to be consistent across the board, not just in one area. You want him to be consistent with you. You want to be consistent in his word. Did he say that he's going to call? He actually calls. Did he say he's going to take you out on a date on Friday? And then he actually takes you out on a date on Friday. Did he apologize and being consistent and apologizing for ABC? And everything that I'm saying about him, sis, you should be able to do as well. Are you open to being an open book and apologizing? Are you open to being a woman of your word to say you're going to do A, B, C, and that you actually do A, B, and C? So this is not one-sided. My clients know when I work with them, if you come in correct, I'm giving you all the kudos in the world. But if you are not coming correct, I am totally pointing out what you have done wrong, because a lot of times we get real comfortable pointing that finger at the other person on how they and what they did wrong. And we very rarely look in the mirror and talk about the stuff that we're bringing and doing, bringing to the table that is not correct. One of the things that I find is that if we find out and if we start to work on our areas of weakness, meaning your areas of weakness, my areas of weakness, your friend working on her areas of weakness, your man working on his areas of weakness, we could bring so much better, a better self to the relationship, a better self to our friendships, a better self to our familiar relationships, including a better self to our child or children that is watching every move that we make. It really does start with us. And so if you're ever working with me, it has to start with you. It has to start with you. It has to start with you before we even look outside of you. Because There is a reason why you are attracting the type of person that you keep attracting. And I don't start looking out. I start with you. That's when I noticed the biggest difference in my life, the biggest difference in the men that I was attracting. Everything started with me. When I had low self-esteem, I couldn't go out there and look for people outside of me to help build up my self-esteem. It was nice when I did hear things, but what about when I didn't hear compliments? And, oh, you so beautiful, sexy, blah, blah, blah. I want to take you out on a date. What if I didn't hear that? Then how was I feeling? So I had to learn to build up my own self-confidence. I had to learn everything about myself. I had to love everything about myself before I even thought somebody outside of me was going to be able to give me and or love me the way that I need to be loved. If I can't love me the way that I need to be loved, how dare I believe and even think that somebody else is going to be able to give me those very things? Because as soon as they lack in those areas, our relationship is going to fall apart. So I have to be strong in those areas before I ask somebody else to be strong in those areas. You have to be strong in those areas before you ask anybody else to be strong in those areas and what they need to bring to the table. Sis, addiction to his potential. Another thing, the fantasy of fixing him. Fixing becomes a love language for women used to earning affection. This is one of the areas of weakness. If you are used to earning affection instead of it being freely given to you, fixing becomes one of your love languages. Okay? But the truth is, this is not love. It's control dressed up as care. You may believe you're being patient enough, that you're being loyal enough, or even forgiving enough. And when you do all of these things, he'll finally realize that he should rise to the occasion because you are the it. And that very rarely happens. According to the American Sociological Review in 2021, women are 2 times more likely than men to stay in relationships hoping for change. Women, we do this. We're nurturers. We're naturally wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt that they want to do good, that they want to do good not only for us, but to us, that they will be good. We'll be good together because we have the vision. We can see the future with this person, how great it would be if both of you were on one accord. And a lot of times you're not on one accord. A lot of times you're not, and that's okay. That's okay. That's why we are here talking about these things. We're talking through these things so you can see the area that you can actually see yourself in. This is the area that you have to start working in and apply these things to your life. You don't have to be a part of staying there hoping for him to change. Because the truth of the matter is, he can only change when he wants to change. Just like you. You're only going to change when you want to change. And so if you're staying there hoping and wishing and even pleading, begging for him to change, you're wasting your time. Now the question becomes, are you going to stay around until he's ready to change the thing that you're requesting? Again, that's one thing. Think about the relationships, your past relationships that didn't work out when you were doing this thing. How often did he change or they change? And I'm not talking about the ones that was placating you for a moment, meaning he changed to stop hearing the nagging, to stop hearing the complaining, and then old patterns and old behavior started showing up again. That's not a person that has changed. And let me even refine that even further. When you are working with a person that is beginning to work on themselves, they are absolutely going to backtrack and revert back to the area that was comfortable. What you should be looking for in those people to make sure that this is somebody that is still on the path of changing is the apology. is the oops, my bad. I actually did this mess again. The very thing that we had a conversation that I promised that I said that I was going to not do again. I did that. My bad. I apologize, or whatever the apology sounds like. If you never get said apology and then again behavior, the one that you keep talking about, keeps happening, that's not a person that's ready to change. Excuse me. That is the big difference. A person that's ready to change will still revert back, but then they catch themselves and they apologize for it. Like, dang, man, I'm trying to work on this. My bad. A person that's not changing at all, they not acknowledging anything that they are doing is wrong. They just continue to live life like they are living life. And that's it. We not falling for potential, baby. We're not being addicted to potential. We are looking at men for who they are, showing up present day. How is he treating you present day? How is he working on the goals that he said that he has for his life present day? We're not motivating him where we are doing all the stuff for him in order for him to get to the next level. Which brings me to the fear behind letting go of the potential itself. Releasing the fantasy feels like failure, especially for women who always make it work, especially in your life. Things that are going on in your life, things that are going on at your job and in your career. You always figure out a way to make it work. People are different. We can't just keep trying to figure out how to make it work, especially if you are the only person that's trying to figure out how to make this thing work. If this is a solo endeavor with two people, it ain't gonna work. Both of you have to be figuring out how to make this thing work. If the both of you are on one accord, if the both of you want this thing to last. Recently, I was working with a married couple, and I essentially told them this. The only way that these sessions are going to impact your marriage and turn things around for the better is the both of you have to be willing to be in this for the long haul. Number one. Number two, the both of you have to be really ready to essentially bare your soul and open up and talk about the things that have been hurting your marriage and why your marriage is where it's at today. If you can't see him actively on his way to meeting the things that he wants, that he says that he wants out of his life, having a plan to do those things, and then working said plan to get A, B, C, D that he says that he wants. If you don't see him doing any of that stuff, you are wasting your time, your energy, and your pretty. It is what it is. I don't want you to be a part of the percentage of women that are regretting all of the time that they gave up. And what I really, really hate hearing is when I see a beautiful woman who says she gave up her childbearing years waiting on a man and his potential, waiting for him to do the things that he said that he was going to do, waiting for him to stand up as the provider, as the protector, as the one that's bringing the stability in the relationship. I don't want you to be a part of that. 64% of women report staying in emotionally unfulfilling relationships due to empathy or understanding. 64%. That's a lot of women that are placating. You're not being emotionally fulfilled in your relationship, but you're staying around. The fear of starting over is one of the top 3 reasons women remain in misaligned relationships. Do not be a part of this fear of starting over group of women. Because the truth of the matter is, if you don't willingly start over, it's going to happen anyway. So why not be in the driver's seat? I love you guys. Come on back next week. please let me know down in the comment section below. Have you ever been in a relationship where you were addicted to his potential, and how did that work out for you? I'll see you next week.